Countercultural Life coming at you from Study Studio, aka The Kickback. As you can see, we have jogging pants and sweatshirts on, hoodies on, because it is The Kickback. I'm here with a young man, my friend named David. I'm not going to give his... Do I give his whole name? Because I feel like people could... Okay, I'm not going to give his whole name. His name is D Money, D Rock David. I just made that up. His name's not D Money or D Rock. But David, and we're going to talk about identity. The last podcast, as you can tell, I just shot the last podcast a little while ago because I have the same clothes on. Yes, I do wash my clothes, and yes, I have different clothes. However, this is all in the effects of trying to be good with our time. So anyway, we talk about identity, and this is the Countercultural Life podcast where we talk about going against culture and what culture's telling you. And what I talked about previously is there are spaces in life, there are things that happen to you in your life that form and shape who you are. That there's stuff that people have told you about you. There's stuff maybe that even your parents wrongly put on you on accident. Maybe I told this story, David, about my great-grandfather saying that I would never amount to anything. And that was, and if I had let that impact who I was, then I would have never grown into who I became. So if I would have dwelt on that, if I would have let that thought and that thing that he said, if I would have let it impact me, then I never would have gotten to the spaces in life where I've been able to get, because I believe that your identity is placed in you by God, and you work into that. You have to grow into that. You have to learn about yourself. You have to become educated in life. You have to see things. You have to understand. You have to deal with people, and it teaches you about who you are if you're willing to grow and get better. That's what your identity, God has put this inside of you, and he's trying to pull it out of you. Your potential God put inside of you, but it's your job to get that potential out of you. It's not his job. His job is to honor his promises and his word. Your job is to pull that potential out of you. And me and you talk a little bit about this, and we talk about growth and stepping into spaces and stepping into, it's going above and beyond what people's expectations of you have been, or maybe what the expectations of yourself have been, and talking about getting better and going to higher levels and being just a productive member of society. Not just that, but being an ultra productive member, being somebody who the world looks to, maybe being somebody who in a space people rely on you, people depend on you, people are looking at you to determine who they're supposed to be. So that's what identity is to me. So it's what's inside of you. It's who you're supposed to be, the person that God created you to be, that's deep inside you, and you're trying to figure out who it is throughout life. Some people figure it out sooner in life. Some people never figure it out. So as we get into that space, let's talk a little bit about identity, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the family culture, that your identity, that where you came from. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, so not to surprise you. But if I were to ask you, like, David, when you think about the term identity, what does that mean to you? What do you think?
Just your all-around image in life.
An image.
What you portray.
What you portray.
Yeah.
What you portray, the image in life that you see yourself as.
It can either be chased or you just come along with it.
So tell me more about that. It can be chased or you come along.
You can chase an identity that you think you want, but that just may not be what it is. It's just not what you're meant to be.
Do you think people do that these days? You think they chase identity?
A lot of kids, I would say you chase your identity when you're like 16 to 21, maybe 22.
Yeah. And
then you really slow down and try to figure out who you really are and who you really want to be.
Yeah.
Because you run into roadblocks whenever you're young.
Yeah. So, and I would think that, like, people are chasing identities that they see on TV, they see in social media. They're chasing somebody who. It's funny because you say they're chasing identities, but a lot of the times the people that they're chasing are actually chasing identities.
Everybody's running in a circle.
Everybody's running in a circle. That's a good way to put it. So, I talked a little bit on the first podcast of my upbringing. So I grew up in two worlds. I grew up on this side, I went to private school. On this side, I lived in what would be considered Section 8 housing. Now, those two together helped me understand, kind of formed and shaped me, kind of made me the person that I am. However, I spent a large part of my life being stuck gravitating between both worlds. And now the person that you see sitting before you is the person that I'm finally stepping into my identity. I didn't learn that till maybe late 30s, early 40s, who I was really supposed to be. And I started to step into that. But let's talk about identity. So I grew up in two worlds. Share with us what your race is.
White and black.
White and black. So your dad's black, your mom's white.
Right.
So tell me about that growing up in that world. What was that like?
I mean, it was kind of
Push close the mic in. There you go.
it was kind of best of both worlds, I guess, because you get to learn how to live two different lifestyles in a sense. I mean, it's just up to you which one you choose.
Yeah.
Or up to you if you want to balance those two lifestyles out.
Yeah.
So the streets taught me knowledge on who to trust, what to trust, and how to hustle and go get money that I need to go get, And the country where I actually grew up, the majority of my life taught me how to work. Just a work ethic, stuff like that, how to be strong, how to be an actual man. Yeah. So it's just how you balance those two lifestyles out is really just what it comes down to, honestly.
Let's get real. We get raw and real on this podcast. So be ready. You ready? So I got called names by people on both sides.
Oh yeah. Plenty of times.
I got called names, people that were saying I was portraying somebody that I wasn't on both sides. So we got kids in here too. This is real life in the background, kids, real life. Real life, that's what it is, but that's what we're doing right now. So, talk to me about like what that was like, being in two worlds, and maybe one world wanting you to be like them, and the other world saying you're not like them, and wanting you to be like them, and then what was that like?
Yeah, so it wasn't hard. It was just confusing at times, I would say, because I would want to be one way. Sometimes I would want to go work. I'd want to go be country. I'd want to go be on the farm. But other times I would want to be in the streets with all my other friends doing everything else, And this was even when I was younger. I wasn't an innocent child when I was young, You grow up in the streets, you play football, you get older, you start seeing what you're seeing while you're out there playing football, and you want to do what the older people are doing,
Yeah.
So it was hard in that aspect. But on the other side, it was easy. And yeah, I've been called plenty of names. I went to a real in the sticks school when I was middle school through some of high school. It was real racist. There was probably a total of four African Americans there, maybe 2 Asians. And we got called all the names in the book, but it's all about how you handle it. If you handle it the wrong way, then you'll go down the wrong path. If you handle it the right way, then...
So say more about that, because it takes courage, stamina, intestinal fortitude to deal with people calling you names.
Yeah, there's plenty of times I was called names that I could have just went crazy, but what's going crazy going to do? I knew that at a young age. I did mess up going crazy on some people and you'd get in trouble,
Yeah.
But there was also times where I was like, all right, look, this isn't worth it. And I would hold myself back. But as a kid, in school, you got to prove yourself.
Yeah.
That's what you think. You got to prove yourself to everybody. But later on in life, you figure out that none of that matters,
So I experience sometimes in my life where I would be embarrassed if the sides collided. Like if it was always weird. I was like, if
stuck in the middle,
my neighborhood friends would meet my school friends. Yeah. I was always in a space where I was like, I was afraid of that happening. And I don't know why. Maybe the reason why was I was afraid I was going to have to actually choose who I was.
Choose a side. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that like for you?
Everybody got along with everybody really, until there was an actual problem with another group of friends that weren't just wasn't our friends. They was just, by themselves. Other than that, anybody really that I had around me got along with each other.
Right.
I tried not to keep friends around that didn't get along with another friend. And if they didn't get along, then we settled it between us, and then that's it, Yeah. I try to keep things mutual, because I don't want to end up in the middle. When you end up in the middle, it's just awkward, and then things go left.
Yeah. Do you have friends in your life that are still trying to make you choose a side?
I do. I have a couple friends in my life like that, but they are gradually floating away, and I
Okay.
can tell they they're doing the same thing, and I'm doing and I'm they're here, and I'm coming up here.
Yeah.
So I have friends that don't have jobs. I have friends that just sit on the game all day, and they're grown, 23, 24 years old, and they just don't know what they want to do with their life yet. But that's not me. Um, those friends slowly, I've learned slowly, just drift out of your life if you let them.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't let them and you just hang on to them, you're just going to fall down to the bottom with them.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
But I also have friends that are climbing with me,
yeah.
but they're climbing at a rate that I don't know if they can handle in a couple of years if they keep going.
Yeah, so we look at you've heard me say this before. You're the average of your 5 closest friends. Your circle, the friends that hang out with you, your circle determines your altitude that you go in life. So one of the hardest things we have to do when we're trying to figure out what we're supposed to be is we have to learn to cut the dead weight out of our lives. And that was hard for me. I had friends that would say stuff like, "Oh, you think you're better than us?" I'm like, "No, bro. I'm just trying to do stuff."
Yeah.
Like there was a moment in my life when I was about 26 years old where I was in the military, and basically my life consisted of it consisted of working on airplanes, PlayStation, and beer when I got home, and then we got up and did it all over again.
Yeah.
And there was an epiphany I had. I was like, there has to be more to life than this. But the thing you struggle with, that a lot of people struggle with, is sometimes they never have that epiphany, or they have it too late, or they think it's too late. I don't think it's ever too late, but they think it's too late. And what I had to realize too is those friends that I was playing, we were playing Madden online and Call of Duty type games online, and I had to make a decision in the moment, like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that even played out into my 30s, where people saying, you're not hanging out with us anymore. And I told a couple of friends, I'm like, I'm not going where y'all are going. I'm just not going the same direction. And I'm not saying they're going in a bad direction, but I was like, I'm trying to go somewhere different.
Faster.
Yeah. So you said you have friends that are still, 23, 24 playing games, like not going anywhere. How do they feel about you? You have a full-time job. You're making money. You're helping support your family. You're doing those things. Like, how do they view you?
They view me like I have the money that I don't have yet.
Oh yeah.
So they view me like I've already grown, and I'm like 35 with 2 kids and a stable household.
Yeah.
And I feel like the only reason they view me like that is because I take care of my bills, and I still have extra funds to do whatever I want, have fun with my life, But to get that, you got to work. You got to get out of the house.
Yeah.
That's something they don't want to do. So I guess they just think I'm out here living.
You say you got.
In all reality, it's not that hard,
So you got the combination, the hustle and the work ethic all in one, because of the different spaces that you grew up in. Have you always had that work ethic?
I have since I was 13.
Okay.
Started working when I was 13 on a farm. So my first job was a farm, under the table, shoveling chicken poo with alpacas, spitting on you all day, stuff like that. But when I say the hustle and the work ethic go together, it's not just I wake up and go to work and I hustle at work and I make paycheck to paycheck every week. I'm trying to find extra money to make, whether it's mowing some grass or, it's doing this or that, even though I don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't mow the grass.
Moving.
Yeah, moving. So that's another thing I do on the side, the moving company. I mean, whenever I can pick up some extra money, I pick it up. That's where the hustle part comes into play. It doesn't always have to be illegal to hustle.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more identity on that and stay in that space and talk about, did anybody in your family teach you how to manage finances? And I'll kick us off while you're thinking about it. Like, my dad said, save your money, but that was it. It was no like, hey, there's credit cards and balance the checkbooks,
Yeah.
and if you go get this credit card and you put all this stuff on it, you actually have to pay that back. Like, so all of those things, like, did anybody in your family share the concept of like how to utilize money properly? Like everybody wants to get rich, but no one wants to get wealthy.
Yeah.
Wealth and rich are two different things. Wealth is like generational. Rich is like it's here and it's gone.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about identity in that space, like in your identity and coming from two different spaces. Did anybody in your life talk to you about?
So nobody really talked to me about how to manage money. They just talked to me how to get money, basically. So they never told me what to do after I get the money. They just said, you need to make a whole lot of money in life, you know? I think how I learned finances and what credit was and what the economy was and stuff like that was from school, just paying attention in school. I think that was probably the only class I paid attention to in school.
Yeah.
Because I knew that was the only class I was really going to need in life was math and economics and finance.
Yeah.
It's really all you need, really. So paid attention to that. That's kind of how I got my knowledge on how to handle my finances. But no, everybody always just taught me to just get money, just make as much money as you can.
Yeah.
But my parents also weren't the greatest with their credit. So I was watching what they were doing. So learning what not to do whenever I was able to establish credit and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's good. Some of our best lessons come from learning what not to do. I learned a lot about what not to do. And it's just like, I saw the same thing.
Life's like a game of football, you know?
Uh-oh, you can go a football analogy.
So
football analogy.
Life's like a game of football. The defense, the offense throws a pick six. Now they know what not to do when they go back out there, you know?
Okay, I like the football analogy.
So when you step out of the house one day and you did something wrong, so you might have hiccup at work or something like that, you know what not to do when you go back.
Yeah. And I guess the difference between being rich and being wealthy is, in the football analogy, we'll go with it. The being rich is winning the game. Being wealthy is buying the stadium.
Right.
Like, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Being a football owner. Yeah. Being a football player is being rich.
You can be rich one day and you can have $1 million a day and blow it tomorrow.
Yep.
But you could have multiple ways of income coming in. It's hard to blow that if it's just a rolling, you know.
So shifting gears a little bit, going back to identity. When you think of identity and when you think of who God has designed you to be, have you started to figure that out at all at the age that you are, 24 years old?
See, I didn't start thinking about it till I met you, though. That's the thing.
Why?
It was just never brought to my attention, you know. I knew I was put here for a reason to do something, whether it was to work 40 years straight, blue collar, or be rich doing whatever I want to do, you know. But I don't know what it is yet. I have no idea. There's things that are coming, there's opportunities that are coming my way that I feel like that's what it may be, but I don't know yet.
So, and this is not about me at all, but what have I done that has made you think about that?
Just opening my eyes more to God and, you know, his purpose and his purpose on putting us here, you know. And just your story alone, basically, you've had to figure out your identity in a harsh way, you know. You got trapped in a moment and you had to realize this is not what I need to be doing.
Yep.
I don't know how to say it. I just haven't had that click, because like you said, you're put here to do a job, whether it's to be an influencer and influence people to do other things, or it's something else. I don't know. It just hasn't came to me. It hasn't clicked for me
It's
yet.
interesting that you say that. God designed us with purpose, and we each have something to do, but I believe all of our purposes are connected to people. So what does that mean? I believe that how God designed us, we're supposed to influence people in certain ways, and we're supposed to pull God out of them as well. Their God designed purpose out of them as well, like by what we do. And that's kind of what I'm doing now in the career that I'm in. And when I see stuff in people, my job is to let you know what I see, and then to help you believe what I see. And that's the key thing. That's what life is all about. Like, you need people in your life that push you into who God's designed you to be,
Mm-hmm.
even when it sucks. Because me and you have had some conversations that weren't fun,
Yeah.
but it's just like, how I see the greatness in you and Noah, and Noah behind the scenes, again, not giving me eye contact because he hates me, or because he just doesn't want me to look that way. But I can see the talents and the skills that you have, and my goal is to help you believe them. My goal is to help you see who you are. I love the story of Paul. I forgot that story. I forgot that story. So let me go into it real quick. There's an interesting thing that's always stuck with me. Paul is one person in the Bible. He's persecuting Christians. He's killing Christians. He's a well-trained religious dude, very knowledgeable. And then on the road to Damascus, God demasks him. He takes the mask that he had created for himself off and shows Paul who he's supposed to be. So then Saul, it was his name, he becomes Paul. So it's like his identity's changed in the moment. And God in that moment said, no, I know who I created you to be. And this is the dude. Mm-hmm. And I think if we go around trying to show that godly characteristic to other people, like, I know this is who the world says you should be. Because, I mean, not going into the race spot, because as the world tells you because of how you look, the color of your skin, like you can't get to certain places. That's what people say around you. I mean, people have said that because of the tattoos that I have.
Yeah.
I had a guy tell me, like, you can't be in a leadership space and have tattoos. I had a guy tell me, literally in a class, I had long sleeve shirt on, and and I was just breaking them down with leadership concepts, and they were saying how amazing the class is. But then day 3 of the same class, I come in and I have a different shirt on that shows the tattoos. He goes, if I would have known you had tattoos, I could not have listened to you teach leadership. I'm like, that's a freaking stereotype right there. But so
that's like people thinking preachers shouldn't have tattoos.
Right. Same thing.
God has markings on his body.
Oh, watch. Preach. That'll preach right there. That'll preach. So just thinking about these things as we get into this space of identity and being countercultural, and where I could use David as an example, if he believed the lies that people told him that were around him when he was growing up, and he fell prey to the comments that people made and the names that people called him, he would be stuck in a different place.
Yeah.
But he was strong enough not to get stuck in that place, and he had the courage to not get stuck in that place, and he had the intellect to not get stuck in that place. And that's what this whole thing is about. That's what understanding, like, who we are and who God has designed us to be. That's what it's about.
I think it all depends on how mentally tough you are.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't test you. Life doesn't really test you physically. It tests you mentally.
Yes.
Whether it's relationships, it's work, it's religion, it's money, everything goes right back to your brain.
Yeah.
So life tests you mentally. So it's just how mentally strong you are, really. There's been things that have coursed my life that I probably could have fell victim to, but instead of letting it hold me back, I moved on from it,
Yeah.
Because you can't get stuck on one thing. Then you'll never find who you are.
Yep. That's right. You can't get stuck. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. There's this story about this, and it's this well-known book, not too well-known because I don't know the title of it, but I've seen the example referenced before about this woman was on her way to her wedding, and she had on these certain shoes or something, and her husband left her at the aisle, and the whole story is about how she never changed out of her wedding dress and how she stayed in that place. So for her entire life, she stayed as that 25-year-old woman in her mind. Even as a 70-year-old woman, she's still stuck in that space where her husband left her at the altar.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it the altar? Not the altar.
It's the
altar. It's a marriage altar.
You can't let one thing alter how you go about the rest of your days.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
You can't let being left at the altar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's those things, and these are things that we need to talk about. These are the things that we're going to consistently and continuously talk about. How life is affected, what society would tell us to believe, but being countercultural means going against what society would say. Being countercultural would be going against the grain, going against the mindsets, going against what you're hearing from the people around you. Like if you don't have people, if you don't have friends that are speaking life into you, get new friends. Mm-hmm. Like if you have friends that are making comments and passive aggressive comments about you trying to go somewhere, trying to get ahead, get new friends.
It's jealousy.
That is jealousy.
It's just all it is in the long run. It's just jealousy.
I say it like this, like when people start making comments like that, when people start being jealous and start trying to hold you back, it's because you are reminding them how far they have to go. Mm-hmm. And so instead of going with you,
they're mad they're not that far yet.
They're mad they're not that far yet.
Yeah.
So they try to hold you back. All right. Identity, countercultural life, study studio, in the kickback with the polar bear socks and the air dry Nike socks, the Nike sweats, the straight black hoodie. I'm rocking the Jordan sweats with the Fear of God hoodie representing. You know I got Fear of God on. This is how we roll. Is that Fear? With the Fear of God black hoodie, essentials, Fear of God, dope. All right. I like how he subtly pointed that out. Shout out Fear of God. Can we get some free clothes, Jared, please? Jared Lorenzo, can we please get some free Fear of God clothes? They're not cheap, but I appreciate what you're doing. So we're working on 2 sponsors right now. We have Noah's favorite drink, Liquid Death. We're working on that sponsorship. We're also working on the Fear of God clothing sponsorship. Hey, look, Jared, if you send me stuff, I will rock it every single podcast. I promise you, and everywhere I go. All right, holler back. We will see y'all next time. We'll get into the physical space of the countercultural life. Remember, it's about being spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically whole. It's about knowing who you are, knowing who God has designed you to be. And when you're whole in those areas, you will live a whole, fruitful, productive, amazing life. Counterculture life. Shout out Study Studio. Shout out David. Shout out Noah. We will see y'all next time. Peace. How long was that?